Unahaganissinga zana bechu nabimiya dachinam. Welcome back, everyone, to Rising Warriors. Rachael Kulei. I am Nabimiya Dachinam, the woman that travels with the stars. I am affiliated with the Northwest Band of Shoshone Nation on my mother's side, and then on my father's side, I also come from the Nez Perce, Osage, and the Blackfoot. And today I have my lovely mother, best friend, also my business partner. For those that don't know, she is my co-owner with Zimi Wellness Center that we have together. So she's also my business partner. She's also a professor, teacher, educator, and does many, many things. And so I'm excited to have her on tonight with us. Also, Native Lens is her podcast as well. Um, so I wanted to do the topic of what is an elder. And we have our beautiful elder with us tonight. And this is something that I have been seeing a lack of knowledge out there in the communities. That even in the Native community, I'm seeing there's a lack of responsibilities of what we should be doing to take care of our elders. So I asked Rochelle to come on today to educate us and to talk about what an elder is from an Indigenous point of view. And because we, as Indigenous, we really hold our elders to with respect and honor. And there's a lot of things that we do in the native country for our elders that you don't see in other cultures, especially in the white culture. So I'm going to have Rochelle go ahead and introduce yourself and give a little bit about what you do and your education and your background.
Well, thank you, Rachel, for inviting me. I am a an educator, and so I teach. Also a professional artist, and I teach art classes at Portland Community College. And I've had the honor to teach the Intro to Native Studies course, and now teaching the Native American art history, Canada and US. And also been involved in the community for a long time and within Native community. And I'm also a practitioner at Zimi Wellness Center in holistic healing. And I don't know. That's all I want to say for now.
She does a lot of stuff, and she's our elder, and she's a beautiful mom and an auntie, and she adopts many people. So I have many brothers and sisters and cousins out there that she's adopted that I don't even know and have never met. But hello, no. So so let's start with coming from an elder point of view. What is an elder from an Indigenous point of view?
I still don't even think I'm there yet. A good friend of mine used to tease me, said I was in an elder in training when I was young, and it wasn't till I think I went to a powwow, and they said what is it, the elders, it's time for the golden age to dance. And I always thought, oh, okay, those are our elders. And then when they said 55 and older, and I'm like, I'm an elder now. I was like, oh crud. And I said, I am not dancing. I'm not. But what I have learned, and I can only speak from my perspective and how I was raised around elders. And when we talk about elders, we're not talking about religion and elderships and things like that. We're talking about, we call our wisdom of the elders, leaders, yeah. That they are elders. But I think we need to talk about what the word means, because in in English language, sometimes the translation isn't the same as if it was done so in our Indigenous language. So when we say elder, someone might just think of it as someone old, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in our perspective, an elder is actually a verb and not a noun. So a verb meaning it's an action, it's a doing. That's what an elder is. It's not they're a noun, they're a verb. So that means there's so many things about an elder that we could talk about in our perspective. So first of all, it's a verb, right? It's an action word. And so our elders, what I love is that they are very active, and there's no time limit that they have to retire. I've met a lot of elders who still work in their 80s and 90s, and they're not retired. They just don't want to. I have a great aunt who is still working at the casino. No, not the casino. She's working for the Fort Hall tribe, and she's in her late 80s, mid 80s, and she's still going strong. So we don't put our elders to sleep. There's no retirement with our elders. We're still going strong. So and I'm at the lower peak as an elder in the eldership, whereas there's hierarchy as far as wisdom. But that's not always true. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I was thinking, okay, how we could use who, what, when, and where, to talk about what an elder is. So I thought, who's an elder? Well, in this day and age, I feel like, and I've seen this, babies, our little toddlers teach us so much that we want to be careful and really listen to those little ones. They have some amazing wisdom, and they're coming down with knowledge. Like their eyes are awoke. They are amazing spiritual little people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they are our elders too. Like they haven't forgot what's on the other side, that veil. Like they still can communicate, and they're with us and teaching us. I was watching this video of this young little girl. She must have been like 4, and her parents were having an argument, and the mother recorded her giving her a lecture. And this little girl told her mom that she needed to come down, that she was too high up here in energy.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't like her mom up in that energy, that she needed to come down and live down here, be grounded, because she's nice. She's a nicer human being when she's grounded. But if she comes up here, she's mean. And she says, and I don't like you when you're in that energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little 4-year-old telling this mother to come down. That's enough. That's an elder. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so we have to pay attention to those little ones even more so. They're just coming by the thousands, being born, and have so much wisdom already. And I'm floored with my little granddaughter and the things she says. And I think, oh my gosh, what she's going to be teaching me. I should watch her 24/7 so
Yeah.
she could teach me some
Uh-huh.
things.
Uh-huh.
And you know who I'm talking about, that little one.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, yes. So children are our elders too, and we have to hold them with high regard and respect and honor. When my mom said that when she was younger, her parents were spanking them, and my great grandma Gagu told them that they needed to stop. That wasn't our ways, and spanking. That when you touched your child like that, you break that sacred role as a parent, but also you're breaking their souls in that you're making their animal spirit go wild.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom said that's when the spanking stopped. But the old ones would tell them that's enough. Don't give in to the ways of how you were treated in boarding schools. let it go, that we need to hang on to our beliefs, and that is to have high regards for children, and in helping them grow and becoming the elders in training.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in the elder in training right now. So,
Uh-huh.
and that means being humble enough to hear what you don't want to hear. And sometimes that's hard to hear from our elders. So we have our children, and then we have our elders, that have had a hard path and a journey that's taken them through many things, and they have lots to teach us. And so that is the part of being an elder, that they're moving, they're always moving. That's why they're the verb. They're moving, making movements, making difference in our lives, in people's lives, and in our ways. Grandparents, because you're not just your blood relations grandparents, you become the whole community in for as a grandparent. And I see this all the time in the Native community here, is that the grandmas become our grandmas. And
Mm-hmm.
and I have lots of grandmas, which I'm so grateful for. And it's so hard during COVID when I need them because I'm missing my own mother 2 years now, and I miss that elder that to go and talk to, and
Mm-hmm.
just to reassure me. But now I have to be that. And and I'm like, oh, how did you do that, Mom? And she did. But I watched my mother through exemplify her role as an elder, and having respect from others, and people coming to her. I'd come home and there's someone sitting on the sofa who is wanting her counsel. And so I'd have to quietly, sneak into the kitchen, and so that they could be alone. And I saw this woman she was just a grandmother to everyone, and saw her give so much comfort to them. And so those are different. Those are like that way of just being. You become everyone's grandmother. You're not just your blood relations. You become an elder for everybody. And especially with elder in a rural community that we live in. We don't live on the reservation. We live in the city, suburbans. And so we rely on those elders
Mm-hmm.
and their wisdom. Now, another thing is, it has to be earned as well. You don't, just because you're an elder and someone says, well, you should listen to me because I'm your elder. Well, no, that's not always true. You have to earn that role as an elder, because you have to be careful. We're not all, everyone has their secrets. And you have to be careful, because some take advantage of that. And so you want to always be safe as well. So, that's not, if you haven't earned to be, then it's, like I said, it's a verb. So just because it's your age doesn't mean that you stepped into that eldership.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have walked the talk, and be an example and a good leader. So it's so important to have this discussion to make sure that people understand that elders it has to be an earned title as well. You can't just have it. You have to earn it. And it doesn't mean I'm going to do all these things to get that title. It just comes naturally. You are or you're not. And then some have to work for it. However,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like elders still deserve our respect and honor because of what they had to live through. And I don't know their walk and why they are where they're at that moment, but something happened, treacherous things that historical trauma is what makes them the way they are. So you have to respect and honor them in that walk, and they still are here. And to me, it's about just respecting them in love and hope that they'll get their healing sometime.
Well, not only that, but too, like another thing that I see a lot is like over speaking. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge one that I see. And so like if you pay attention to my podcasts, and those that I have had on here that I see as my elders, you'll see that I am very quiet and reserved, in a sense of respect and letting them speak. And so this is the other thing is, I want to talk about is, when your elders speak, and same thing with veterans, it's veterans, and when your elders, when they speak, you listen, and there's like this sense of where people like to over talk, or you're talking, they're like, oh yeah, okay, and they butt in, but when we notice when that happens, it's like there's this so like if you're giving me information, that information is, you're in tune with the spirit, you're in tune with creator, you're in tune with ancestors. So at that moment in time, you could be giving me direct message, and from creator, from ancestors. And if I'm not quiet enough, and if I step in and butt in, then all of a sudden that I actually sabotage from actually receiving a full message that I could have received from my elder, because I was not quiet. I wasn't patient, and I over talked, or I thought that, oh yeah, you want to relate, or you butt in, and there's like this almost like justification that people start doing. They start justifying because you feel the reprimand of the elder calling you out, and you want to justify. But that's the part of where you have to literally, like you were saying earlier, sit back and be quiet and kind of bite your tongue and take it. And the truth hurts. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's direct, but at the same time it's done with love, from a true elder. It's strict, and it's direct, and the truth hurts, but at the same time it's done with love, it's done with storytelling, it's done with compassion, it's done with you know learning. And that's one thing I love about with elders, is that when you make a mistake, they'll sit there and they'll tell stories, and they'll talk about these things that you do, and okay, now what did you learn from it? And okay, you only fail basically if you just keep repeating yourself. And so what did you do? And I always love what grandma said was, get up, dust your knees off, and you say the same thing, get up, dust those knees off, and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But I see this, and I see this with people with you, and it bugs me, because I'm like, you guys, like, stop arguing with her, or just listen and be quiet. Like, she's giving you some wisdom here. But what I end up seeing is they end up actually losing that knowledge and that information that could have benefited them, that was direct resource knowledge, that is like, creator talking into your ear and delivering you that message. And it's almost kind of like a slap in the face, because it's like, if you understood the elder speaking to you, you would take heed to that knowledge and the wisdom that's being spoken to you, and know that that's coming from a direct place of message from somewhere. And so
Mm-hmm.
I wanted you to talk a little bit on that part too.
Yeah. So what I was thinking about also, so we know who can be the elder, and we earn that eldership, but then I wanted to, then why, why do we highly regard our elders? And one is, and this is the sad thing for me, as I'm seeing COVID hitting our native communities with the elders, there, it's a sad thing because they hold the culture, they hold the language, they hold the stories, they hold the craftsmanship, they hold knowledge from our ancestors. And some of them are ceremonial people that we need as our leaders. And so I feel, I don't know what it was. I feel like the past few days I've been so sad thinking about those elders and how we need them, and throughout the whole community or the world, and in Indigenous teachings, we need them, and we better listen and pay attention. And that's what that's about, Rachel, is when someone is telling you something, and I've had this happen and seen this happen. You tell someone, trying to help them because they came to you. I didn't go and seek out for them, they come to you, and you give them advice, but then they don't want to hear, or they're selective in what they want to hear. And how I was brought up from my mom and my aunties, because I was raised by my aunties as well. You know, my mom grew up, she had 13 siblings, and I grew up with majority of them. All of them except for one who passed, or two who passed away before I was born. But other than that, they were all my elders. They were my teachers. And the oldest one, Elva Yellow John, a Shram now, but then she was my elder. And I was taught, when they spoke, you say nothing. And it wasn't that it wasn't the Western, keep your child quiet, you don't have anything to say. It was about keep your ears open. There's a reason why you have two ears, right? Mm-hmm. To hear, and one mouth. So listen, keep your mouth closed more often and your ears open, because they were always teaching. There was always a lesson in everything from here's how you should act, here's how you need to behave, here's how, there was all these, I didn't appreciate it because, I was in the middle of that as a child, that when you have all these aunties telling you what to do, because we all lived really close. And so when I had all these aunties, I would always get confused and like, who am I supposed to listen to? And the answer is all of them. And that mom, they were part of that. They were part of my raising. It wasn't my mother and her role, only her role. It was the community's role. And so I had all these aunties raising me. And so that was the one thing, is the respect and honor, to be quiet. It wasn't, again, like I said, to keep us quiet because we're not old enough to understand. It was to learn. You have to learn. And the only way you're going to learn is by silence. In our Western culture, it seems like our young ones speak more often and the elders stay quiet. And it needs to change. It needs to be that we need to just be quiet and listen and learn, and stop asking all these questions. Just keep learning. I understand that part too, because when I was younger, well, why this and why that? And they would just say, just be quiet, and things will come to you when you need to learn them, not at your time. And that was a hard lesson for me, because I wanted to know everything. But at the same time, they said they always knew when the lesson needed to be. And it came naturally. It wasn't like, oh, Rochelle needs to learn this year, and Rochelle, she's got to learn it this year. It just came naturally. And I think it's the way the ancestors influenced them. And then they're like, okay, now she's ready. She can hear this now. She's not ready at that moment. She is now. So it's like our elders have the knowledge, and they carry those traditions. They carry important things to keep our culture alive. And if they leave us today, where are we going to be if we hadn't listened and taken care of them? And so they carry, like I said, the language, the way of living, the 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 craftsmanship, the knowledge, the storytellings. You know, they carried a huge part of our culture, and without them, then who's going to carry those? You know, and if we're too busy talking and telling them our opinion and not listening, we're going to miss out on everything. And so I think that's so important that we are paying attention. And then how do we show our respect and for our elders? One is that when we go to events or even in our own home, and you grew up this way, is that the elder will be served first, always. And when we go to events that no one knows that knowledge, I can't sit or go get my mail first. I can't. I will. And we've been in that place where we just stand in the back and wait, and people will say, well, get in line. And I will watch that elder until that elder gets their food, then we'll go and get in line.
And veterans.
And veterans, of course. But also young mothers with babies.
And the babies.
Yeah, they need to feed their little ones. So that's just a common knowledge. If anybody doesn't know that, when you are invited to a Native community in a dinner, just know, don't be offended, but the elders always get served first. When I would throw the powwows at Covington powwows, we always would serve our elders food, because they've been there all day. So we always made sure we had a big potluck, and the committee, and that they would get fed first, but we would teach our young ones to go ask them if they couldn't get in line. Go ask them, what can I serve you? And then the kids would go and get their meals and then serve them. So it was a way to teach them that they're responsible to pay attention. And I think that's what that's all about. Is I think I've learned that is not, I'm more mindful, and I always look at my atmosphere wherever I'm at, and making sure that maybe, that elder right there could barely walk, and I could see that I'm further away and needs that cart. So I'll run and I'll take him the grocery cart and give it to him because he's struggling. I go, here, this will help you walk better to the, inside the grocery store. But it taught, because of my aunts and my uncles, on how they taught me, it taught me to be more aware of other people's needs. One time I was at this artist gathering, and then we had a guest speaker come in. It was more intimate. It was with a master's program, and this man was from New York. And being me, I made sure all the guests had their chairs and they were all seated, and they, making sure everyone's settled and ready for this speaker. And then this artist got mad at me for not sitting still and worrying about other people. And he said, you worry about yourself, quit worrying about other people. And I was taken by that, because I thought, that's not my way. I was offended how he treated me, but I didn't say anything. I just looked at him and I went and sat down. But then when people were straggling in and there wasn't a chair, I still got up and got them their chairs. But I always think about that artist and how arrogant that is. Don't pay attention to everyone else. Just focus on yourself. You don't need to pay attention to other people's needs. And that I've never, that wasn't how I was raised. And so that is, ways that we regard our family. And if possible, we try to keep, we do our best to keep our families together and intact, and have our elders live with us if they need to, but we rarely send them into a nursing home. It's very rare, unless it's something that you can't physically take care of them. And it's complicated because you don't have the means to have the care in your own home. But they got to do what they got to do. But most of us will always keep our elders in our homes, and they will help raise the kids too. And this, you were raised by your grandma too, and you had two moms practically.
It it was a blessing to be able to have both two moms, because I didn't get to experience on the level like with you did with all the aunties and having more of that, but just having you and grandma, I really got to understand the reason why our grandparents raise us. And it's that, you always say that our children, the children will bring out like the hidden parts inside of you that you did not take care of. And so they'll bring those things and surface those, those hidden things that we suppressed, that we thought we took care of, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, like I guess we got to work on this. Our child is literally screaming this in front of our face right now. You are doing what I need to work on, and I can't avoid it. So I noticed like it's when those points, and then like if we look at the Western culture, then we always see that's where the yelling comes in. That's where the abuse starts coming in, and all of these things. And there's becomes this clash of not being able to hear between the parent versus the child. And that's where I really saw where the grandparent really steps into that role, or that auntie that steps into that role as a second mom, because then now you've almost like taken the mirror out of the picture for a second, and now you're like, okay, now what's really going on over here, without bringing all these emotions or stirring traumas or things like that. And so it was like I found myself being able to speak to grandma on things that I couldn't speak to you about, where it probably, because we always have that one thing too, like, you don't want to tell your mom, or you don't want to tell your dad, but if it's someone else, you feel a little bit safer telling them that information. But then not only that, like with grandma, I'm so much like her, that it also helped to with the rebellious part of me and her rebellion. It helped me on my journey and my trials and things that I've gone through with my past marriage and relationships of like abuse, where you didn't understand that part. And so I understood like the role of the part of like, there's places where you taught me and helped me, but then there's the other role where grandma, she was that mom too, and being able to help me in the aspects and places where I couldn't talk to you about them, or you didn't understand, and you didn't, because you never went through that physical abuse with relationships. So we could understand each other on that level. And so I see that it's important. And so like with my niece, I never really got to have that auntie, the closeness of the auntie, because of my age with my aunt. So things, just the maturity, we're closer in age. And so that I didn't get to really experience the auntie like you did, um, with like Auntie Ellen and the older ones. So I never got to experience that part, but from hearing stories from you and then from grandma talking about her aunties and her uncles and how they played a role in her life and in a role in your life, I started seeing all of these different pieces with this little one of, okay, so this is where my role is with her, and I want to do all of the things. So this is that learning part of what you were talking about of observing. So I've observed and I've seen these things. So now I saw what I wish I had when I was growing up from an auntie. And so I do even more for this little one to be that auntie, to be that second mom, to be that leadership and role. But not only that, helping raise this little elder. And
Mhm.
so that's the thing too. I love that you talked about this because we didn't even discuss about this, but I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, well, our little ones are our elders too. They teach us so much. And it's like with my niece and then with our nephew Ryder, those two specific, especially for me, um, while helping raise them, I I've never heard so many songs, old ancient songs come and lullabies or old bear ceremony songs.
Mhm.
These old songs start coming just naturally while you're holding these little ones. And it's like you can feel that even more of that presence of the ancestors around and the song that sings to their soul. And so it's like they
Mhm.
start teaching you. And so it's like I started noticing there was a moment where I wasn't watching her during that COVID break thing that we had. And so it was like there was this disattachment where I felt like because grandma, we don't have the access to the elder in that space. So now she's the other elder. I feel that almost replaced grandma that lost. It was like we had this older elder that was replaced with this younger elder, but yet
Mhm.
old at the same time, but has so much wisdom and teaches us so much. And it's interesting too because there's times where I even get challenged where we could go into that Western mentality of discipline and things like that. But then it's like, no, okay, I sit back and I'm like, all right, what is she teaching me right
Mhm.
now? Instead of like, no, you need to listen or be quiet or sit still or whatever. It's like if I'm feeling anxious or I'm starting to get kind of like on edge or something, it's like, okay, now it's like I start to sit back and I'm like, okay, what is this little elder teaching me? What is she teaching
Mhm.
me right now? And so I really sit back and I have to take that breath and go, okay, let's, sit down, what's going on? And they'll talk to you.
Mhm.
They'll start to actually talk to you. And that's that's the other thing I noticed too is that people they almost like don't understand the wisdom of these little ones, and so they kind of shush them out and they're like, "Shh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you don't know. You have no idea what you're talking about." But it's up to us too to actually pay attention to that and recognize it, because how many times I hear little ones go, "Oh, do you see that what's that dark shadow over there? Or what's that little thing over there?" Oh, you're seeing stuff, or you're making stuff up, or it's just a shadow. And it's like, but you're making them feel crazy. Now you're already teaching them to doubt their gifts, and
Mhm.
and you're like pushing their wisdom away. So then I noticed it's almost like these parents or these people start actually closing the veil quicker on these little ones because they get shunned and nobody's listening to them. And so it's like, well, then you're not listening to me. Then what's the point of having this gift anymore?
Mhm.
What's the point of trying to tell you and warn you that, this person you're seeing, mom isn't a good person. I don't like this person. Or like that little one, like, mom, I remember seeing that video that you're talking about.
Mhm.
It's like, mom, I don't like you up here. You need to come down. And she's this little girl, really serious, like,
Mhm.
mom, like, you need to come down here. I don't like when you're up here. You got to talk to me when you're down here. And but we don't, it's up to us to listen to them in that way, to help them grow. And if we really want to, and this is the thing too, is if we want to see a better future and things, then we better help these little ones and raise them right, and raise them to be these elders and these warriors, so that they don't forget and the veil stays open. Then I see a bit like a brighter future for the next generations to come, because then their eyes are just going to be more open and open, and they're going to already they'll remember who they are. So then their mission and their drive here, their purpose is, they're not going to spend 50 years, 60 years, on here on earth, trying to figure out what their mission and their purpose is. We can raise them from the moment that they're born to the leaders that they're supposed to be. And it's like what you always said, with raising us, it's not what you wanted us to be when we grow up. It's what does creator want us to be?
Mhm.
What does our true spirit want to be? What is our soul purpose? What is our, before we came here, what was that agreement and that contract that we made as people, coming here to this earth? And what is that? And as parents, it is our job to find that and help our children. Even if you don't have blood children, it's like with me, I don't have blood children, but it's also my job to help my niece, and my mom and my sister and my brother-in-law, mold, this little one, um, into who she's supposed to be, and not who we want her to be, but who
Mhm.
she is. And with that comes, the intuition. So I just want you to talk about that real quick, because you really exemplified that growing up with all of us.
Mm, I think, to me, when I decided to be a parent, I thought it was a serious role, and I didn't want to take it for granted. But I also knew of our traditional ways, before historical trauma with, my aunties and everyone. Had we truly been in the home, in a traditional way before the colonization, it would have been that we would have been patient. We didn't give the names to our children yet until we saw their spirit and what they would become. And often sometimes it would change in the name giving, because they now maybe outgrew their name and now are coming on to their own and coming up with another. But it's evident. I could say, when you guys were little, it was so evident where you where you were going and what your characteristics were and your spirit. And by 2, 3 years old, I was already like, oh my gosh, I think I know where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing. And then once I recognized that, and in prayer, I would ask, and then that's where I would direct you. I would introduce you to these things, and I knew exactly, what you were supposed to be doing. You were the dancer already, at that little age. And then Michael was baseball player, but also he's just really, really vocal. So put him into drama because he's just so loud. He was so loud, and he didn't need a mic. He could speak from a stage out to the audience and they heard him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and then Jacqueline wanted to try everything, but also she was aware of like finances by the time, because she's younger than you all. She was aware that more of and worried about the finances, or what it might, she might be that burden. So she would just try everything, but not stick to it, because she always felt that burden. So it's interesting, because now, like, her role, as she was raised, she got to be more, it gave her opportunities to travel
Mm-hmm.
with grandma.
Yeah.
And because she wasn't you know, like had to be at certain things that everyone was involved in, like you in ballet. She was like, she was able to just be free from that, and then would go to, you know, tribal meetings and learn and serve the elders. She knew what it meant to serve the elders, so she was always getting them drinks. And it's just, I think if we just pay attention, it's so easy to actually see the gifts. And that's what we would have, in a traditional way, all of us would have had uh, mentors, and we would have been able, those mentors, we would hang out with them. We would be with them. If it was a, you know, if it was a basket weaver, you were going to stay with that person because that was a gift you had and they recognized it. So, oh, we're going to have them go there. You know, oh, you're good with bows, the bow and hunting. You're going to hang out with them. There's just so many vast gifts that would serve the whole community. And it wasn't a way to make money. It was about how are we going to serve each other? And we still hold on to those ways. How are we serving each other? And we just don't know how not to be aware and serve other people. It just
Mm-hmm.
comes naturally. It's just natural. And some may not. And everyone's in a different situation in their lives. But my advice to you is to find that elder. And I'm not talking about just native elders. I'm talking about every one of us can find an elder and connect with them. You know, we can't do it now. There's nursing homes, but for me, that's where I worked when I was younger, 17, 18, worked in the nursing home and volunteered there. And that was my love, to serve the elders. And, you know, so it's how we help each other, but mainly, you know, my mother changed my diaper. I ought to be able to change hers too.
Yeah.
And she's much easier than I'm sure, than I was ever. But it's that thing is, I'm going to be kind to everyone because I want to make sure my diaper is changed. And so I'll be
You
the
want to have a
nicest.
bed.
I'm going to be nice to everyone, and that's why you have more brothers and sisters that I have people this I adopt, because I'm like, this, if my kids don't want to change it, then I've got
Oh,
someone else who will.
that's what it is. It's a
Mhm.
backup plan just in case I don't take
Yeah,
care of you.
exactly. I told Ty
Okay.
that he was going to be he's my son, and he'll be the one changing my diapers.
Well, I told him that, he could have the house and that because I'm the oldest, that I have the say so. So I said if he wanted to take care of you and dad, then he could have the house, and that Michael and Jacqueline can't say anything about it. And I have the say so and hear so. I'm the oldest, so it goes. So I
Well,
said, go ahead.
well, I just want us to make sure, you know, don't wait to go and find out about stories and what your lineage is. Don't It's when you say, I'm going to go talk to so and so, I'm going to do this, I'm going to interview, and then before you know it, time's up and they're gone. And you know, and out of all my mom's family, there's only 4 of them left now. It's only 4 sisters left. All the brothers and the older ones are all gone. So it's best to connect right now and get their stories and learn as much as you can. Record. We have all the access of that now to record our elders. Anyway, it's getting late, and I know that this could go on forever, but um, just embrace our elders, you know, and get those stories, have them share them. They want to share. They want to tell you. So it's up to us if we're going to reach out and ask, because we got to ask that too.
Mhm.
And take care of them. So
Especially in this times right now. And I think that's why I wanted to talk about the elders too, is because it's important to me. And this whole time with COVID has been challenging for me, especially during Christmas, because I'm used to being with the veterans and my elder veterans and serving the community, and it's been challenging this Christmas on a lot of different aspects. But
Mhm.
um, I just remember when I had left this earth for a moment in time, that I just remember before I came back here, Creator telling me that I was going to watch and witness many elders pass and go, and that that it was up to us to either hold on and reach out and spend as much time as we can with these elders before it's too late. Because if we think about it and we get in our thing, oh, they're going to be there, oh, they're going to be there, but time's coming soon. And I was told that Creator's taking his warriors home. He's taking the elders home. He's taking those, that or it's time for them to go, and they have work on the other side. And a lot of our
Mhm.
elders are being called home to help us on the other side. And if we don't um, cleave on to the knowledge and things before they go from this earth, then it's going to be more challenging to be in a spiritual place to be able to hear them on the other side when they have left this earth.
Mhm.
Because you still have connection with them. It's not like it's gone, but it's just more challenging to have that connection on a spiritual level with them once they've left this earth. And so and then you don't ever want to have that regret. And that's one thing that through my cancer, especially when I was preparing to leave this earth, it was that moment that I felt. I actually went through that moment of that elder and what it feels like to have to say your goodbyes, in a sense. And also knowing and being okay with those that aren't going to come see you, and are it is because people have a hard time with death. And so there was a moment where I even witnessed where it was easier for people to disconnect and shun and push me away, and almost already like put me as dead, and like I was already gone. So then it was easier if I had really left this earth, then it would have been easier for them to deal with that. But then at the same time, we always end up going with, I should have done this, I should have done that. And so my message with you is, before you get to the moment of I should have, before they had gone, do it before that happens.
Mhm.
And that we have all this technology, we have phones, we have video cameras, all these different things to be able to reach out to elders during this time. And I'm calling myself out too on this, because I have been slacking on this the past month myself. So I'm speaking to myself too at this moment, because I too have been slacking on reaching out to my elders, and kind of, I guess, pouting in a sense because of the COVID and not being able to see them physically. So that's something I have to work on myself too. So
Yeah.
thank you for being with us, and everyone that came and tuned in tonight, and share. Um, Reach out to your elders, reach out to your loved ones, your families. We never know how much time we have left on this earth, and you always just want to make sure you leave people in a good way.
Mm.
Um, so that there's just never that I should have done this, or wish I would have done this tomorrow. So that's one thing I learned from being on that deathbed, was just make sure you always leave in a good way. And I always heard our elders always talk about that, but I understand it on a different level of what they mean by just leave people in a good way. So
Yeah.
we'll leave you in a good way. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.